Let's bring in right now from New Orleans, Republican Senator from Louisiana, Senator David Vitter. David, always good to talk to you, but let me ask you first, do you believe the administration and the White House is doing enough to contain this spill?
Well, I think everybody across the board was a little slow off the mark, but I think that's accelerated enormously recently. And in particular, over the weekend, I think it was a very important, very good move to put Thad Allen, Coast Guard Commandant, in charge of the federal response. He was here for Katrina. He's really smart and competent and knows the lay of the land. And also part of that was cutting through this situation that at least existed Friday, where all of the planning and all of the execution, including for coastal protection, had to go through BP. That was a mistake, but I think that's been blown up.
And the White House obviously being very aggressive at this point, and Robert Gibbs, the White House spokesman, actually going so far as to say we're going to, quote, keep our boot on the throats of BP. Do you think that's what needs to be done?
Well, I just don't I just hope they don't break their neck, because those are the folks who may know how to stop the leak, as opposed to White House bureaucrats. But we all need to push hard to stop this crisis. I mean, priority one is stopping the flow of oil.
Hey, Dylan Radigan is in New York, and he has a question for you, David.
Sure.
Dylan.
Hi there. Yeah, in the North Sea, it's mandatory that there's a safety cap on all towers, like the tower that was used or is used in the Transocean rig that has collapsed in the Gulf of Mexico. It is not mandatory that a safety cap be placed on the top of those towers. Why is that?
I don't know, Dylan, but obviously coming out of this incident, there's going to be a major review of all sorts of required equipment and procedures. And I think, you know, it's early to say exactly what's going to change. I don't think it's too early to say that a lot is going to change. So I certainly expect coming out of this, there'll be new requirements, both in terms of technology and procedures.
If you were to put this in the
Go ahead, Dylan.
I would be interested in your context for this event relative to other natural disasters.
Well, first of all, in terms of oil leaks, you know, it's certainly very significant. As of even 3 or 4 days ago, it was more significant in terms of volume of spilled product than all of the incidents related to Katrina and Rita combined, the two hurricanes. Now, at the flow rate that they're talking about of about 5,000 barrels a day, we're still about 36 days away from the volume of the Exxon Valdez. But obviously the flow isn't stopped. So unfortunately we could get there, although we pray not.
And you know, Senator, this just doesn't happen that much. And I guess the last major spill like this was in 1969.
Right.
Could it be that we were just asleep at the switch? That we just believed this would never happen, so we didn't have the appropriate safeguards in place?
Well, Joe, that's probably a big part of it. My guess is there was some complacency in terms of operations, too. But we're going to have to see what the investigation yields, beginning with a 30-day report to the president. But clearly, we need a thorough investigation that's going on. And clearly, we need to look hard at anything in terms of equipment, technology, or procedures that needs to change for the future.
Mike Barnacle.
Hey, Senator, who is going to make the shrimp boaters and the oyster guys, you know, who's going to make them whole for the work that they've missed and might miss a whole lot more of?
Well, it's a great question, Mike, and I've been asking that with a bunch of folks here in South Louisiana. I hope BP is going to make them whole. We're certainly pushing for that. Step one is to get as many of them hired up immediately in the coastal protection effort. These folks want to work. They don't particularly want a government program. They want to work. They want a paycheck, and that's the route to get that done now. But we're also looking at other compensation from BP we're looking at the federal trust fund that exists that was funded after the Exxon Valdez. And for the short term, there are also a lot of private fundraising efforts being headed up by the United Way. I'm not saying that's the long-term appropriate solution, but for the short term, to help these families, get through the next few weeks, we're certainly doing that too.
Hey, David, do you still support offshore oil drilling?
I do, but clearly we have to take a hard look at this incident, and clearly things are going to have to change in significant ways. I think it's way too early to say how, but clearly it's going to have to change. However, having said that, I think it's a huge leap to go from that to say we need to stop new drilling or shut down existing drilling. I don't think that makes sense for the country.
All right, Senator David Vitter, thank you so much.